2, 1. Okay.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting of Thursday, August 25th, 2022. This virtual meeting is compliant with the Ralph M. Brown Act as amended by the California Assembly Bill number 361, effective September 16th, 2021, providing for a public health emergency exception to the standard teleconference rules required by the Brown Act. The purpose of this is to provide a safe environment for the public, staff, and planning commissioners while allowing for public participation. The Planning Commission meeting is being broadcast on Comcast Channel 27 and the city's YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/BrisbaneCA. The agenda materials may be viewed online at www.brisbaneca.org/meetings. All written comments submitted before 2 p.m. of the day of the meeting have already been provided to the commission and available for public inspection at the front lobby in City Hall and online at www.brisbaneca.org/meetings. Any writings received after the agenda has been posted, but after 2 p.m. of the day of the meeting will be available online at the start of the meeting at www.brisbaneca.org/meetings, at which time the materials will be distributed to the commission. For those who did not provide written comments, a call-in number was provided on the agenda, which can be viewed online at www.brisbaneca.org/meetings. The phone number and instructions will also be provided during the meeting. Participants in the Zoom webinar may make their comments through Zoom. Please note that Zoom participants will only be able to address the commission verbally. I will announce time limits for public comment during the particular item. Staff, can we please ask for a roll call?
Commissioner Gooding,
Present.
Commissioner Lau,
Present.
Commissioner Patel,
Present.
Commissioner Sayason.
Here.
Let the record reflect Commissioner Funka is absent.
At this time, could I please have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Steph, can we please have a voice vote?
Commissioner Gooding,
Aye.
Commissioner Lau,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Sayason.
Aye.
The motion passes with 4 ayes. Are there any members of the Planning Commission or members of the public that would like to pull an item from the consent calendar? Staff,
Through the chair, there are
Yeah.
no items on the consent calendar, so you can dispense with
Okay.
that particular action this evening.
Okay. So then moving on to oral communications. Oral comments on items not on the agenda can be called in by calling the teleconference number in the next 1 minute or made by participants in the Zoom webinar. Staff will display the call-in number they already have on the screen, and any Zoom meeting participants should raise their hand to indicate to staff they would like to address the commission on items not on the agenda. Callers must press *9 to raise their hand. Staff will let a timer run for 1 minute. So we did receive written communications. I believe we received 3. Is that correct?
That is correct, and they are related to the public hearing.
Okay.
30-second warning. Okay, 30 seconds has elapsed.
We already talked about written communications. There were 3, and they deal with the public hearing. There's no old business, so moving on to new business. Currently, what we have on new business is a public hearing on the citywide general plan amendment 2022-GPA-1 and the 2023 to 2031 housing element update for the city of Brisbane. Staff, can we have a report, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair Patel and Commission. As you know, we've had a number of workshops on the draft housing element beginning late last year with the presentation of the city's demographics and housing needs, and culminating just 2 weeks ago in which we introduced the element in its entirety. While the Commission and public have had opportunity during those workshops to provide input and feedback on the element, tonight's meeting provides the formal public comment or public hearing on the element. And in fact, the 30-day public comment period began on August 8th and will continue until September 9th. So we will continue to take written comments even after the Commission closes its public hearing and makes a recommendation if that were to happen tonight. And any comments received would be packaged together with the Commission's recommendation for Council's consideration. And then we hope to have this scheduled with Council for early October. For any that might just be tuning in for the first time, I'll just say a few words on the purpose of the housing element, and then I'll turn it over to Senior Planner Ayers, who will show where materials are found on the website and talk about a bit about next step. So very briefly, the purpose of the housing element is to provide a blueprint or roadmap for meeting the housing needs of everyone in a community. It addresses both preservation of housing as well as development of new housing to meet projected needs, and is aimed at meeting the housing needs of all people regardless of age, income, race, etc. The housing element is one element of the general plan that by state law must be updated on 8-year cycles and is also required to be certified by the California Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD. There are a number of state regulations that dictate the format and content of the element. The element relies upon demographic trends and future projections, and at the core of the housing element is the goals, policies, and programs that provide the community's housing plan for the 8-year cycle. It addresses everything from preservation of low-income housing to identifying where zoning will need to occur for new housing development. And I'll mention also before I turn it over to Julia that the Planning Commission's action, whether it's tonight or whether it carries over to another meeting, would be to provide a recommendation that City Council submit the draft 2023 to 31 housing element to HCD, and that would be adoption of the resolution that's contained in your agenda report. So with that, I'll turn it over to Julia.
Thank you, Ken. And I just want to say on a technical side, we got a report from an attendee that there might be an echo. So I just wanted to emphasize again that we are working to address that. I don't hear one and our tech hasn't been able to reproduce it, but anyways. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and share my screen and just show everybody how they can look at the housing element on our website if they haven't already. A good way to get to it is just from the homepage. So from our housing element update webpage, a couple things of note regarding our public review comment period, which is running through September 9th. The best way to get us comments, well, there's multiple ways. You can contact the Community Development Department here, and we've inserted a question here specifically asking if it's related to the housing element. You can also send an email or write a letter to City Hall. So there's a bunch of different ways you can get your comments into us, and that's again the formal public comment period running through September 9th. We also have a survey that's up. It's embedded into the housing element webpage as well. The survey runs through September 23rd, so has a longer date than the formal comment period, which is 30 days. The survey highlights some programs that we've already talked about with the commission through workshops. So we're just kind of highlighting some of the programs we see as being of interest or wanting some specific community feedback on. So that survey is accessible from the city website. It's also going to be in the September Star, which goes out to mailboxes at the end of this month. So people, if they don't want to do it online, can also send in a hard copy the old-fashioned way. So tonight is our first public hearing, and it's occurring during the 30-day public review period. As we mentioned, you got 3 pieces of written correspondence that we forwarded to you from the public, and we anticipate receiving more public comments during that 30-day period. If there's a need for another meeting tonight, obviously we'll schedule that with you all at your next regular meeting. But otherwise, we anticipate going to the city council in October. We will post all dates once they're confirmed on the city's website. This is for the public. The housing on the webpage, we will update basically the how to get involved with all hearings as they are scheduled. And I'll go ahead and stop sharing. And we will leave our staff report there, Ken, unless I'm neglecting something. We'll take any
Not that I can
questions.
think of.
And if there are no questions, we can go ahead and open the public hearing at your pleasure.
Julia, can I ask a question related to the written correspondence we got from Transform, dated
Sure.
August 23, 2022? I wasn't understanding what they were recommending. I understand that they have a problem with the parking provisions and things like that, but I couldn't figure out what their recommendation was.
Sure. So I wonder if it would help to even put them on the screen. But so essentially Transform contacted you to advocate. I interpreted them as wanting stronger programs in our housing element to reduce parking requirements as a way to both reduce the cost of development of new housing and also discourage, I guess, the use of single occupant vehicles. So they cited a program 6A5 to study lower parking standards. Their problem, I guess, was that they thought the timeline was too long and they would rather that we be more aggressive. That's how I interpreted the comment. I think they also provided some ideas that weren't contained in the program, like unbundling parking for transit-oriented development. They advocated implementing TDMs. So we actually are looking at a TDM policy just as a point of interest. Anyway, so that's my take on, I don't know, Ken or John, if there was another takeaway that you got from their letter, but that was the main takeaway I got.
Concur.
Just to follow up on that, what is transportation demand management, or TDM?
The TDM is basically tools to reduce single occupant vehicle trips is really the goal. You're trying to reduce the demand on the transportation system by encouraging whether it's carpools, shuttles, alternative modes of transportation such as bicycles, et cetera, et cetera. So it's usually a suite of measures that are intended to reduce reliance on single occupancy trips as a primary means to achieve mobility.
Commissioner Gooding, do you have any questions for staff?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Lau, do you have any questions for staff?
No, thank you.
And Commissioner Saison?
So, going back to transform, so it looks like one of the things that they wanted us to consider is, I guess, if we put a requirement on the developers to not designate any particular parking space for a unit, and so that it would be just based upon need. They can use, I guess, a parking app so that they could rent it out to other people when they're not using it, and also to buy bus passes in bulk, I guess, so that that would, and then give it to their the owners of the unit or the renters of the unit, so that that would, encourage people to take the bus, I guess. So, I don't know if that's something that we want to discuss requiring, if anybody, thinks that's, something we want to impose or not. I mean, is that correct, Julia? That's what I got, that they wanted us to consider.
Yeah, those are the kind of components of a program that, I mean, I would say the program we have, which says we're going to study it, that would be part of the study. But certainly if at the end of after our public hearing and your discussion, if you wanted to strengthen that program and actually call out specific things that you're interested in, or even make a bigger policy determination, like not study, but let's actually do this, that's certainly something you guys could do in your recommendation to council.
Yeah, I think it would be more difficult to not have assigned parking spaces per unit, but I do think the app that they were suggesting, that if somebody is away on vacation for a week or two and they wanted to open their space to be used by others, that that frees up space in the city for someone else to use, I think that's a good idea. The bus passes, I think it's a good idea. I think that I don't know about making it a requirement right now or something that we encourage, but I guess that's not something we need to make a decision on right now. But I just wanted to see what the other commissioners thought, if this is something we should pursue.
Commissioner Gooding?
Yeah, thank you. It seems to me that this whole issue of parking, is very important to people because presently, and I think the reason it is because of the lack or absence of really feasible alternatives to single occupancy vehicles. So for us, I think for us as a commission, or even Brisbane as a city, to try to make substantial adjustments to the parking requirements imposed on new development, kind of begs the issue, or begs the question of what's the alternative? Is there, if there isn't transit, we're just saying, you can't park here. It doesn't make sense. And this city cannot create transit. That's kind of a regional issue. So there's in no way do I have an answer to this. I'm just saying that I think for us to make substantial adjustments to parking requirements on developers is, I think, putting the cart before the horse. I think unless there are alternatives that are really feasible and viable and make economic sense, we're just putting in the wind.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that, and I'd say when we are studying the parking issues as part of this plan, I would ask that we not only study the broader picture of, well, yes, there's the 292 bus and people can take the shuttle to the BART or the Caltrain, but those routes are not, they're not designed for everybody. So if you're living on the hill, walking down or walking up would be a requirement for you to take public transportation if you aren't going to drive. And if you can't walk or you can't go down a hill like that, then you really don't have access to public transport. And your only resort right now is to drive. So when we're talking about parking, we have to consider people that have varying abilities that have mobility, I think, in this particular town because of the particular geography.
Yeah, I think those are all really good points. And I think, again, the program that Transform called out and wanted us to be more aggressive on, I think the reason why we have had the program be to study in the future versus like committing to certain things is just because of all these issues that, you know, we need to ensure that there is actually an alternative to parking, as Commissioner Gooding pointed out. And as Commissioner Patel pointed out, we have to make sure that eliminating parking isn't leaving out a segment of the public who are unable to make it work. So not to stop this very good discussion, but I did, there are two folks in the public arena. I wonder if we want to maybe open up the public hearing and hear from them before diving in too much further to discussion. At your pleasure. Yeah. Do you want to open the public hearing? Commissioner Patel or Chairperson Patel?
Sorry, I was talking with my mute on.
Okay.
Yes, can we please open up the public hearing?
Great. And I see a hand raised from Tony. Tony, I will go ahead and allow him to talk. Okay, go ahead, Tony.
I think Tony is also muted.
You should be able to unmute yourself, Tony.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. Good evening, commissioners and staff. My name is Tony LeVice. I've been a carpenter in the Bay Area for 27 years, 23 of them with the United Brotherhood of Carpenters, San Francisco's very own Local 22. I'm here tonight to speak on the housing element. I think it's wonderful that Brisbane is doing its part to increase the number of affordable housing. It's what's best for Brisbane and its community. My concern is for the construction workers who continue to build our communities. They are increasingly underpaid and overworked. They travel long distances to the job sites and often live in substandard conditions. This valuable resource, why do we continue to marginalize this valuable resource? When will we start to recognize that they are an essential part of the growth of our communities? How can we best serve them? I would like to bring to your attention area labor standards. These standards increase the quality of life for our unrepresented construction workers. In turn, they do the same for our communities as a whole. What are these standards? Local hire. This puts our local construction workers to work, keeps dollars earned in our local economy, and reduces our carbon footprint. Healthcare. This keeps our workforce healthy, reduces healthcare costs for our communities. We all know who foots the bill when uninsured require medical care. We do. A living wage, not a survivable wage, but a living wage. Pay these essential workers what they are worth. Stop enabling the subsidized workforce. This benefits no one except the contractors who employ them. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Brisbane, I urge you to send a message to these unresponsible contractors that you will not stand for the exploitation of carpenters, skilled tradesmen, and apprentices so they can increase their profit. I would kindly ask the Commission, please consider adopting a requirement that all proposed developments pay area standard carpenter wages, provide health care, and a commitment to hire local carpenters and tradesmen, including apprentices. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Great. Thank you. I have put on the screen the call-in number and information if anyone else who's not in the Zoom would like to make public comment. And anyone who's in the Zoom and wants to make public comment, just please raise your hand and we will call on you. Okay, I have a raised hand from Prem Lal. I will go ahead and allow him to talk.
Yeah, hi there. This is Prem Lal, Brisbane resident. As far as the construction of new residences is concerned, I want to be sure that the Brisbane governance is taking into consideration what has been in the news recently about not only mega floods that are happening elsewhere in the country, but the predicted mega floods for California. One of the elements of the, for instance, the Baylands proposed construction is that it's on soil that is of the highest likelihood of liquefaction. And if in fact these predicted mega floods do hit the Bay Area, which they are predicted to do, all of that will be washed away. So I've submitted a link in the question area to a recent article from the 12th of August from USA Today. And I just want to make sure that it's not something that is dismissed as, you know, nonsense. Because if you look at what's happening in Mississippi and Texas, in all of these other places in the United States, just recently in the last month or two, it should give us pause as to what should be constructed on that side. All right, thanks.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start a timer for any call-in comments. I believe it's a 3-minute, we'll leave this up for 3 minutes. I'm going to start that timer now. So anyone who wanted to call in to make a comment or text a comment may do so with the number on the screen. And while we're waiting for that, I just wanted to note the PRIMS link to the article. It should be accessible in the question and answer box. And I also want to note, it looks like Commissioner Lau has left the meeting. Okay, 1-minute warning. All right, 10 more seconds. Okay, 3 minutes has passed. I don't see anyone calling in. John, I assume we haven't gotten any texts.
That's correct.
So at this time, I would make a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Staff, can we please get a voice vote?
Commissioner Gooding,
Aye.
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Sayasan,
Aye.
and Commissioner Lau, I believe, has stepped away. So we'll mark him as absent.
The motion passes with 3 ayes. So I guess this is now the deliberation period. And I was wondering what each of the commissioners thought about what we should do. Commissioner Sayasan, would you like to start?
Well, I mean, okay, we received other letters and the comments from 2 folks tonight. I don't know, is that something that, you know, you all want to address? I mean, with what Mr. Levice was saying, I wasn't aware of the issue with the, you know, contractors and pay and all that issue. So, I mean, we haven't been provided any information, so I don't quite know how to address his concerns. As for Premlal's comments, you know, liquefaction, that's something that we've been discussing from the beginning with the Baylands development. And I'm sure once we get to the specific plan, we'll get more into that as well. So it's definitely not something, you know, that's something that we're very mindful of. So, you know, I mean, you know, I don't think that's something the commission or the city council will be ignoring. So those are my comments. And other than that, you know, I think I would, you know, the report that's prepared by staff based upon all our, you know, workshops, you know, I think, you know, I'm fine with it.
Commissioner Lau, before we lose you potentially, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
Not at this point. Sorry, I was disconnected for a brief time. Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's fine. Commissioner Gooding, what?
Yeah, no, I have no specific comments. I think I think our staff has put a tremendous amount of effort and work into this housing element, and it reflects a lot of different inputs. Yeah, a lot of this stuff is I mean, we have the RENA allocation from the state that is a fact, it's a given, and really our entire housing element is a response to that external, you know, pressure to accommodate that that housing allocation. The details of how we do that are going to be, you know, pretty complicated project by project. But as a housing element for our general plan, I have no comments or additions to make. I think they've done a great job.
I would agree. I would say this is a culmination of several months of work that staff has done and public hearings that we've had, and so these are the things that I was wondering is, do you think, and maybe staff can answer this best, is do you think it's best to continue something like this and wait until the public comment period is over at the end of the month, or so that there is another opportunity for people to see what other comments people are making and talk about them in this venue, or do we just sort of continue it and pass it and then let city council handle all of those comments? If there are any, there may not be any, I don't know.
Those are both viable options. I mean, there is I know, sure, in other meetings, other workshops, there is a sort of a sensitivity and a time issue with this whole project, given that it has to go to the state, and we expect rigorous review and a lengthy review by the state. So I guess if the commission as a whole, you're comfortable with the work product, I would recommend you move it forward. Whatever additional public comments come in between now and when that public comment period closes in early September, those will be forwarded to the council and for their deliberations and consideration. Obviously, if you feel compelled to continue it to let that public comment period run, that's your discretion. But we would not necessarily recommend you hold your action for that. We're what, 2/3 of the way, a little over halfway through, Julia? And how many we received 3.
And we expect to receive more. I think most of these are getting them kind of at the end of that 30-day period, so people can have time to absorb. And I just want to clarify too, the action tonight. The action tonight from the commission is to basically recommend that the city council submit this draft element to HCD. The city's not adopting it, then council won't be adopting it until we go through the process with HCD and are ready. And they basically say, okay, we're at a point where we would certify a draft. And we're not there yet. So just to clarify, there's no like final action either on your part or council's yet.
Commissioner Gooding?
Yeah, from a procedural point of view, I don't think we need to wait for the comment period to be over. I think whatever comments are received are ones that will be addressed really for the council's consideration. Our opinions here are what they are. If we believe this report is satisfactory from our point of view, any further public comment will go straight to the council for their consideration. To staff's comments about time issues, we probably should try to be part of moving that forward rather than holding it up or slowing it down. That's my 2 cents.
Commissioner Saison, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree to move it forward, and also when we make the recommendation to the city council, will they also be hearing from the public too as they're considering this? So the public has another opportunity before it's submitted. Okay.
Commissioner
Yeah,
Lau. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Done.
Commissioner Lau, did you have any comments?
Yeah. No, I agree with the previous comments. There's been a tremendous amount of work, tremendous amount of thought, put into this very complex, difficult goals that have to be achieved that are been, put down by governing bodies. And I would, I think as the public still has, they're still able to comment on this. But I would, I would be in favor of, going forward.
So then, I guess, do we have a motion to recommend that City Council submit the draft 2023-2031 housing element to the California Department of Housing and Community Development for review via adoption of Resolution 22-GPA-1?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Staff, can we please have a voice vote?
Commissioner Gooding?
Aye.
Commissioner Lau?
Aye.
Commissioner Patel?
Aye.
Commissioner Saison?
Aye.
It's 4 ayes, so the motion passes. There is no more new business on our agenda. So I was going to ask if there are any items initiated by staff.
Just a reminder that planning commissioner training sponsored by the Institute for Local Government is scheduled for this particular region on October 7th. So I hope you've all received kind of the flyer or the information. So encourage as many commissioners as are interested and can attend to do that. I believe it's an in-person event down in Cupertino, a one-day event. So we'll be sending out some more information and just as a reminder, and hopefully we'll be able to get some of the commissioners, especially those who haven't had the opportunity to attend previous trainings, to participate. And again, commissioners who've gone to other training sessions, we encourage you to attend if possible as well. Other than that, I think you probably all saw that High Speed Rail did certify their environmental document for the San Jose to San Francisco reach, which includes the maintenance yard in the Bayland site. So obviously the city council will have some decisions to make, as the city had voiced a number of concerns with that proposal, and in terms of how those procedurally continues, whether the city wants to continue to pursue options to challenge that action is something the city council will decide. And that's all I have.
Are there any items initiated by the commission? Commissioner Gooding?
I just wanted to chime in on John's comments about the commissioner training. I did one of them and it was very, very good. And I signed up for this one as well. And presumably there will be good water service throughout the entirety of the process.
That would be a nice change of pace.
But actually, they are very much worthwhile. They're very helpful. They give you also a chance to network and chat with other planning commissioners throughout the Bay Area and the state. They're really good. I highly recommend it for those who haven't done it.
Any other items initiated by the commission? Seeing none, I would let's adjourn this meeting to the next regular scheduled meeting of September 8th, 2022. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening.
Thanks,
Good night, everyone.
everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.